Nigeria generates 799 billion in oil revenue in the first quarter of the year 2022. Group appeals for attention and food security towards meeting sustainable development goals. Equity market closes last trading day of August positive. Investors anticipate the trend to continue in September. Plus, all drops on fears over weaker demand and China's COVID restrictions. This is Business Express on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, and we are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Liakatin Babatunde. You're welcome. A very good morning to you on this a very rainy morning from Abuja, the nation's capital. We begin by informing you that data from the Central Bank of Nigeria shows that the CBN sold a total of 446.15 billion in treasury bills in August 2022 auctions. This was 9.47% higher than the 407.55 billion sold in the previous month. A breakdown of a total of 446.15 billion for the month of August further shows that for the 91-day tenure, the CBN sold 3.43 billion in the month under review compared to 5.97 billion sold in July. For the 182-day tenure, the amount sold increased by 319% to 11.52 billion from 2.75 billion naira in the previous month, while for the 364-day paper, the amount sold increased by 8% to 431.19 billion naira. The 364-day bills made up 94.21% total sales as investors continued to seek higher yield investment opportunities. Year to date, the CBN has sold a total of 3.34 trillion naira in treasury bills, 34% over the 2.5 trillion naira offered for sale. As expected, the sales in August were higher cost as top rates increased steadily. Nigeria Economic Summit Group has appealed to incoming administration to give priority to food security towards meeting the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This is coming as the group analyzes food security, the achievements and challenges in Nigeria. Musa Ali reports.
Food availability and affordability have been major issues to millions of people since the outbreak of COVID-19. The economic analyst here reviewed the impact food inflation could have on SDGs.
To have runaway inflation, because we're basically importing inflation into many of the finished products that depend on imported agric inputs or imported agric commodities.
In addition, the World Food Programme estimates that roughly 52 million Nigerians have slipped into food insecurity between 2019 and 2021.
The team also analyzed policies and programs of the federal government and development partners and the impact on food security.
We have lots of investments in Nigeria, but this analytical frame will probably give us a window through which we can reflect on where we think we ought to do some more spade work
To reposition the sector, the National Agricultural Technology and Innovation Policy 2022-2027 is a prevailing framework for promoting research and extension service delivery, access to finance and insurance, agricultural land productivity, and rural community livelihood.
The analysts, however, appealed for more commitment and investment in agriculture and empowerment of rural communities for food stability. Musa Aliyu.
Thank you, Musa. Now, the federal government of Nigeria is partnering civil society organizations across the country on sustaining fiscal reforms initiated under the $1.5 billion World Bank-assisted State Fiscal Transparency, Accountability and Sustainability SIFTAS program for results. This is in a bid to deepen fiscal transparency and accountability in public finance management system as a way of improving good fiscal governance at subnational levels. The statement by Ibrahim Mohammed, the SIFTAS program communications specialist, said the SIFTAS National Program Coordinator, Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Stephen Okon, made this call during a sensitization workshop organized for civil society organizations in Lagos. Mr. Okon explained that as part of its strategies to ensure the sustainability of fiscal reforms at subnational levels, the SIFTAS Program Coordination Unit was engaging civil society organizations to ensure that fiscal transparency and accountability are sustained in state public finance management activities. So, to the business of the day. Foreign airline and travel operators this week heaved a sigh of relief after the CBN released $265 million out of foreign carriers' $465 million stranded in Nigeria, so that operators can keep serving the market. The International Air Transport Association, IATA, has applauded the decision, assuring that foreign airlines will continue to do business in the country. I have joining me from Lagos Dr. Frank Oguchukwu. He is an aviation and IT expert who is Managing Director of Aviation Africa Platform to look at issues around the aviation sector in Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. Frank, for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Great. And how is Lagos this morning?
It's a rainy day, rainy morning actually. First of September, I just ready. Welcome rain.
Yeah, we also are under the same showers, and thank goodness for that. Now that $265 million have been injected into the system, how is it playing out in the aviation sector in Nigeria? Is it uhuru?
Thank you very much for that interesting question. I just want to say it's not uhuru yet, but it's a starting point to get to that destination of uhuru. It's actually a good signal for the fact that CBN has actually released part of the fund, because it created a lot of issues within the aviation environment, particularly for foreign airlines, because there's what they call the BASA, Bilateral Air Service Agreement, in which Nigeria is a signatory. Actually, it happens between two nations, really, not the airlines, actually. So in that agreement, the clause 15 basically states that airlines have the right to repatriate their funds whenever they want to do that, so they can demand for it. Because when a ticket is sold, right, on the day of sale, it's sold at the official forex rate on the day of sale, basically. So when they're repatriating their funds, it's supposed to be actually be the same rate, not the black market rate or and all that. So that was part of the challenge the airlines had, because CBN was saying we don't have the forex, go look for the forex somewhere else. But again, they're going to actually run at a loss if they do that. So if they sell a ticket for 430 naira to $1, for example, and they want to repatriate their funds, they're going to pay that maybe at 700 naira. I mean, that's a huge loss for them, basically. So, well, the good thing about actually CBN has listened, government has listened, and they started making some effort to ensure that we get a reprieve from all of these issues that are coming up. We hope that it's going to be sustained, that the total money will eventually be released, and going forward, CBN needs to have a plan to ensure that this kind of situation does not arise again, because it happened about 20 years ago. I repeat itself again. So we need to find a way to ensure that these things don't happen, frequently.
Yeah, because you mentioned it happened in the past. We the most recent one, of course, around $600 million to put it was stuck in Nigeria. But IATA is telling Nigeria to work out the release of the $20 million balance and put 200, I beg your pardon, million dollars balance, and put in place measures to avert accumulations. Do you see this happening in the near term, and how can we totally avert this crisis of having monies being stuck with us here and for the airliners being unable to repatriate them?
Okay, so basically for me, if you look at this issue of airline operation in Nigeria, actually is almost 90% dollar dominated. I mean, they do their maintenance abroad, their C checks and D checks and all that. They also have to pay for spare parts in dollars, and so it's a huge sum for them, which is dollar dominated, like I said. So what I think needs to be done, to ensure that we have a sustainable repatriation mechanism is to first of all, now the Nigerian agencies, particularly the government and all that, they also earn forex as well. That forex, is it with CBN or is it with who? That forex needs to be accounted for. The most organizations in Nigeria actually who are international facing, they earn forex. So is that forex domiciled with CBN or domiciled with the organization? Because that's also provide a buffer when it comes to this repatriation of funds and all that, focusing on the aviation industry particularly. So that's one. Number two, what's happening actually, we have limited forex available right now across the whole Nigeria. So it affects several industries, manufacturing and all of that. So government is trying to see how they can, use limited resource of forex to be able to meet the obligations of different sectors of the economy. It's a challenging situation basically. And one, our national airlines actually need to be competitive, domestic airlines, because they're also earning forex themselves by operating international flights, regional flights. That also help them cushion the effect of forex demands, because when they earn forex abroad, for example, they could also use that money to pay for their maintenance checks and all that. Apart from that, we need to also have local maintenance, repair and overhaul plants in Nigeria, MRO. So rather than go abroad to go and do maintenance, they can be done locally. And also, it's a means of earning foreign exchange for the organizations who own MROs in Nigeria. So all of those checks can be done locally. So it's actually paid in naira, no longer in forex. So you get the pressure on the dollar reduces basically. So the aviation industry needs to have a holistic plan or strategy to deal with the issues we're facing now. Because if it's going to continue, if we don't have that plan, basically, we need to domesticate a lot of costs in naira instead of dollar. That's what we basically need to do. The government needs to support the industry to move to get to that level of domesticating all of these things, all of the services in naira.
Okay, so while we talk about domesticating some of these expenses, for instance, we don't see indigenous airlines plying these major routes that have the foreign ones who do. Now, and if the ones who eventually do it is not at a frequency of the foreign ones, what is playing out here, and if reverse were the case, will it ease the pressure?
Yes, it will reduce the pressure basically, but that's what they call aeropolitics, right? Nigeria needs to be able to, based on the BASA agreements, be able to actually ensure that Nigeria is getting value from those agreements. In effect, whoever is going to be part of the process of cashing those agreements between Nigeria and whichever country will ensure that Nigeria gets value from those agreements. Now, for example, BA comes to Nigeria. I mean, they have several frequencies to Nigeria, but Airpeace wants to go to London. That has not been possible till now. So government needs to be able to support and back our airlines to be able to have access to those markets. That's very critical, because the BASA agreement says that airlines from Nigeria can't go to London, airlines from UK can't come to Nigeria. So Nigeria needs to support the local airlines to ensure they actually get access to those markets. Those markets. It's important. They shouldn't leave the airline to begin to change those things. The government needs to put their feet and say, look, based on the BASA agreement, we're entitled to X number of frequencies and all of that. That's critical. So from the government perspective, government needs to aid the airlines. The second thing actually is that most of the airlines don't have the capacity right now to engage in that. They can't compete, with those global airlines. They can't compete with them because they don't have the capacity right now. So again, they need to show up their capacity in terms of equipage and all of that, so that they can compete and provide quality service to passengers who are going to fly on those international routes. So the money earned in forex is going to help to cushion the effect on demand of forex by those airlines.
Okay, now that you've brought in the British Airways frequency and your trip in and out of Nigeria, just about a week ago, the British Airways closed its inventory, which means travel agents would not be able to issue fresh tickets for their clients, but individuals can buy tickets online and only in dollars. What is playing out now that this $265 million have been paid, and how will this new trajectory be affecting local travelers and, of course, the pressure on Forex?
Okay, so again, the local traveler, based on what BA is doing right now, is going to access dollar from the black market. And that's what's going to happen. You can't get it from official market, basically. That's not going to happen. So again, we're putting more pressure on the dollar regards to on the dollar demand. So what needs to happen actually is that with the release of the $260+ million to foreign airlines, I think, like I said, it's a good signal, and hopefully the airlines needs to also reciprocate that by going back to normal, the normal operations, ensuring that Nigerians can also pay in naira, because government has shown good faith by saying, okay, look, this one is there. We're going to begin to do something about it. We have shown good faith by paying almost half of it and all of that. Can we come back to status quo? And I mean, we're looking at ways to actually pay off the balance and ensure that, going forward, we won't have to have that backlog and all that. So we expect it's an expectation that the airlines will actually reciprocate this gesture and go back to the normal base fares rather than asking people to pay in dollar and all of that. Hopefully that's going to happen, because BA took that decision before that Ford was released. So again, once it's been released already, so we're expecting that most of the airlines, Emirates, BA and all that, will begin to have a different approach to it.
Yeah, at least we got to hear just yesterday that BA is resuming its route to Lagos, which is fine. But then local airline companies in Nigeria have also been issued with the Riot Act by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority over 19 billion naira indebtedness. Can you speak to the issue at stake here, and can we afford another disruption to the system?
Okay, so there are two issues there. The issue of the TSC, ticket sales charge, and the CSC, cargo sales charge. Now, when you buy a ticket, that 5% is actually part of the ticket cost. So if you buy a ticket, basically you buy a ticket, you pay cash, either with your physical cash or your cards and all that. You pay cash. The airline gets that money. So that 5% is actually not the airline's fund. That is the NCAA's money. But what has happened over the years, actually, the airlines keep that money and do not send that money back to NCAA. So NCAA is saying, say, look, enough is enough. All the money you've collected on our behalf, the 5% ticket sales charge, the cargo sales charge, you need to return our money back to us. And they have a right to do that because, like I said, that money does not belong to the airline. When I bought my ticket, I paid cash. The airline got the money cash. So they need to actually separate what is theirs and what is not theirs. And keep what is theirs and send what is not theirs to the owner of that, which is the CAA. So the point here is, NCAA is trying to actually sanitize the industry and ensure that airlines are economically sound to operate their business, to ensure that there's safety and security within our airspace. So I believe that NCAA cannot just shut down the airlines, but they're going to have meetings to like the DG said, airlines should come and sit with them and enter an MOU that will say how they're going to comply to make the refunds they need to make to the CAA. So it's going to take quite a while for that process to get completed.
Thank you, Dr. Frank Ogochukwu, who joined us this morning from Lagos State, and he's the Managing Director of Aviation Africa Platform. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Nice. Next is our Surviving COVID-19 series as put together by Boss Diable.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Yes, I'm into stationery, school materials, and the party accessories. That's more than 10 years now. During COVID, it's not so much challenge. We face serious challenge in this our business. Everything was crippled. There's no money in circulation, but we thank God we are still alive. We are coping small, staying at home for over 1 month. Nothing is coming in. We are just eating the one we have. At times I will be even imagining, how are we going to cook this morning? What are we going to eat? But at the end, we will still see God make a way. In fact, I learned that you can't do anything on your own. It's only God. There's no market now, but we thank God. Small. But our problem is that everything have increased. The increase because of this dollar effect. Like last week, I bought pepper. We are selling pepper 11,500. Then I went to the company last week. I now found out that the company are selling 12,500 because of the dollar, the increases in the dollar. But we are doing it small. I heard about it during that COVID-19. We applied, but it did not reach us. You reach some, if I am lucky to get, because I know there are some people, but I will invest it in my business.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
The Central Bank of Nigeria's latest economic and statistical report for the first quarter of 2022 shows that Nigeria generated 799.1 billion from all sectors in the first quarter of the year, which is indicative of a 28.3% decline from 1.11 trillion in the fourth quarter of the year 2021. Nigeria's crude oil and gas earnings in the first quarter of 2022 was also 17.1% lower than the 956 billion revenue recorded in the same period in 2021. In the first quarter of 2022, oil revenue contributed 38% of the nation's gross revenue, which was 2 trillion during the time under review, while non-oil revenue was 1.1 trillion naira and accounted for 62% of total earnings. Oil prices dropped this Thursday as investors are worried that aggressive interest rate hikes from global policymakers would slow economies and dent food demand, while renewed restrictions to curb COVID-19 in China also added pressure. Let's now see the numbers. The Nigerian equities market closed on a positive note in midweek trade, which was also the last day of August. And of course, we're starting the month of September with a recorded appreciation in the NGX All-Share Index of 0.39% that settled at 49,836.51 points. A total of 367.34 million shares valued at 3.23 billion are traded by investors in 3,725 deals, with market capitalization also rising to 26.88 trillion naira. Sterling Bank, Access Holding PLC and UBA were the top trades in terms of volume. And away from home, stocks across the globe staggered into September as dollar spikes. Let's get the summary.
Stocks in the Asia Pacific are mostly trading lower this first day of September as investors digest the result of a private survey on China's factory activity. Japan's Nikkei 225 slipped 1.53%. The Shanghai Composite was down 0.54%, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index declined 1.84%. European markets also made a negative start to the new trading month, having closed out August lower as traders grapple with fears of higher interest rates and a looming economic downturn. The DAX fell 0.9% in early trade, with London's FTSE shedding 0.83%, while the French CAC slipped 1.39%. US stock futures fell on Thursday morning after the major averages closed out August with losses, and investors considered the Federal Reserve's fight against inflation. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell by 0.48%. S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 futures declined 0.75% and 1.21% respectively, while early figures from African markets point to a mixed open.
Thank you, Neka. And with that, we come to the end of Business Express this morning. Don't forget, you can access all previous episodes of the program on YouTube. You can also communicate with us via our various social media platforms. Business Express returns tomorrow at 3 p.m. My name is Leah Katun Babatunde saying God bless Nigeria and do have a very gainful September. Thank you.